Okay, I've survived the night in the tent and I now have a list of pros and cons. Ugh, this has been a complete disaster. This is the Decathlon MT900 Forclaz trekking pole tarp tent. Absolutely ridiculous name for a tent, but the thing that is ridiculous, or people are saying is ridiculous and is annoying a lot of people a lot more than the name, is the color. It's an entirely white tent. I'll have some more thoughts on that later, but despite a lot of people complaining about this tent, it hasn't stopped it being popular. This tent has sold out on UK Decathlon, and possibly it's not hard to see why. It's a 920 gram trekking pole tent for £129, which is incredibly competitive. So, okay, before we pitch this tent, let's talk pack size, because this tent packs small. Have a look what's on my back. That's a 25-litre backpack, and in that backpack I've got the tent, I've got a 3-season sleeping bag, I've got a mat, I've got an inflatable pillow, I've got my food, I've got my cook set, I've got a water filter, I've got a down jacket, I've got a raincoat, I've got my two trekking poles on the side there, and I've got a small chair. So a pack like this, to pack it efficiently, you really need to have stuff filling every single nook and cranny, and because the tent is kind of soft and squishy, you can put it in without having to, take it all out and take it apart. You can put it in there in its bag and it'll kind of find its own little niche. This backpack is related to the main driving force behind why I bought this tent in the first place. So this backpack is specifically designed to be run with. I'm going to stop because this keeps sloshing around. This is original Mountain Marathon Phantom 25 backpack designed for fast packing, which is essentially fast hiking or running and kind of camping in between and keeping stuff nice, compact and as ultra light as possible. Now I've got the Rab Ridge Raider, absolutely tiny, pitches in seconds, little hooped bivvy. Have a love-hate relationship with it. It's great for sort of dry weather, but if it rains really heavily, you've got nowhere to cook. There's no porch in it basically, so it's not ideal for that. I've got this new tent specifically to use for fast packing in unpredictable weather. The forecast is giving fog, mist, low lying, but also potentially some sunshine. It's giving wind speeds potentially up to 25 miles an hour plus. Also there's a chance of rain overnight, so it's the exact circumstances that a tent like this will hopefully serve me well. By the way, if you love the outdoors, you should have a little bit of a look around my channel, because I think there'll be at least 1 or 2 videos that you'll enjoy. I got a bit lost, decided to take a shortcut, and stood in there. My foot just disappeared down the back of this rock, and I've cracked my shin. Now. I think I've hit my leg on the exact same spot that I split it open about two decades ago. It's not a deep cut, I've just grazed the surface, but I think what is actually the bad bit is that I've fallen down that rock and I basically smacked and scraped my shin with that length of my shin right on the bone down a really rough granite rock. So it's taken a little bit of skin off the surface, but it's really bruised everything else underneath that. I'm supposed to be running a half marathon in 4 days, and I'm one of the 2 hour pacers. Well, I got this little Harrier running first aid kit. Haven't had a chance to use it, so here we go. Good as new. Ah! My leg is incredible. It's incredibly tender, where it's scraped, and every time I brush against like a bit of bracken or even worse, gorse, it's like getting electrocuted. Oh. Ugh, this has been a complete disaster. Tried to take a shortcut on the way here, got lost, fell down a hole, bashed my shin from here to here off a rock, massive bruise, took the skin off, bleeding, put a small bandage on it, or put like a small sticky plaster on it, didn't work, the blood came through, so I've got a bandage up. It's a little bit excessive, but not fun at all. I'm here an hour later than I planned. The moon is out. The moon is actually out, so we get very, very little time to do this, but let's get it pitched. It is pretty quick to pitch, which it's going to have to be because I've only got 20% battery left on my phone here that I'm shooting this bit on, because I was not well planned. So pitch it, you roll it out, decide which way you want the entrance to go. Where's the entrance? It's on that side. It comes with this little baggie here, and in this little baggie you get 2 short aluminium poles that you attach to one end, and you also get a lot of these kind of nail type pegs. Now these aren't going to be great in certain types of ground, but I've added 2 of my own V type pegs, and these are going to be for sort of the main guy lines that will come under strain if there's a lot of wind. So hopefully these will hold. To pitch it, you just peg out the ends to start with. This will be an interesting test up here because this ground is not very even. This ground is also quite soft and squishy, so if the floor in this doesn't keep the water out, I'm going to be damp in the morning. Got to add these first. So these go into little fabric slots on the end here. The first time I put these in, I thought there was a fault with the tint, or that I was doing it wrong because I couldn't get them to go in. Yeah, the instructions say to put those in after you peg it out, but actually I think it's easier just to put them in, beforehand. These ends have got these little like plastic loops, like free moving loops with a bit of cord that you want to use. Okay, so let's get the first trekking pole in this side. There's a little metal hoop, you just kind of stick the grip on the trekking pole into, like that. And then there's a reinforced area up here at the other end of the pole goes into. Lift that up, and then I'll just loosely peg this out because I have to adjust it all. So these trekking poles are actually longer than the recommended, so rather than me click it out like that, I'm leaving that all the way down and opening this and kind of pushing this up. I don't actually know what height this is at, so I'm kind of have to guesstimating a little bit. Open it up. There we go. Oh, stupid zip's catching. And then peg this one out. And that's pretty much how you pitch it. You could probably have it pitched in about 3 minutes on a really flat bit of ground. This ground's a bit lumpy, so I'm going to spend a few minutes now just going around, straighten it all up, and then I'll give you a closer look. Right, that's it all tightened up. I mean, look at that. There's 2 extra spare guy lines come with it. The forecast is that later there's the wind coming from that direction, so I've added an extra guy line out that side. It's really solid. It's certainly a lot more solid than my Terra Nova Laser Compact, and it costs like 4 times as much as this. But the question is, am I actually going to survive the night? You know what, it's getting too dark. We'll reconvene this in the morning when I've got a light, and I'll show you a bit more of the tent. I'll also give you how I feel about it after spending the night in it. It's 9:30, and I can feel the wind starting to pick up from the opposite direction to what was forecast. So thankfully there's another guy out point here, so I'm going to attach the other guy line while I wait for this this food. Okay, I've survived the night in the tent, and I now have a list of pros and cons, and I'm going to go through them in a second. First of all, I'll give you a tour around the tent, I'll give you a tour inside the tent, and then we'll work through that list. So let's take a look around the outside. First, I'll just zip this back down. So the tent stayed solid most of the night. I think I hadn't quite pulled this one out far enough, so this side was a little bit flappy, but aside from that, it's still solid this morning. These guy lines and all were fine. These were fine, and even the guy line that I put in using the tiny little this guy line that I put in just using that tiny nail peg actually stayed put. I was surprised because this ground here is, even though we're out quite high, this is really squishy ground. I thought those nail pegs would have pulled out, but they performed a lot better than I expected. Here is the pole, still nice and tight. This is your vent, so the wind can kind of blow in there. Now you don't have any way of adjusting that. The wind was coming from this direction most of the night, which was straight at the vent, which I feel maybe meant this side was flapping a little bit more. So if I had a choice, I probably wouldn't pitch this side to the wind. Let's take a look inside. This tent has a waterproof rating of 2000 mil. That rolls up nicely, and then you got your porch area, decent size. Oh yeah, this is one other little thing that I did. I brought an extra tiny thin little shepherd's hook peg that I was able to then put through the cord on the bottom of the zip, and then push it down in here just to sort of add a little bit more security. Yes, okay, so this is us in. It's not wide, it's about as wide as the mat, but you do have space at either end to dump a pile of stuff. You could put your mat in the middle and then have some space at one end, some space at the other, which I wish I'd done. I didn't do that last night. In hindsight, that would have made more sense. Like put coats and things at the bottom and keep my gadgets and things up at the top. There is a small net, like it's very small, which kind of can just about hold. Now I've got keys, penknife and glasses cleaner in there, and that's about it. If you put loads of stuff in this, it makes the whole inner sag. So you probably don't want to put anything heavy in that. Even these keys and that penknife are causing a little bit of saggage. Now you've got 2 attachment points up here, which is quite nice. One there and one there. I've got my light attached there. You could probably manufacture some kind of little gear sling, because you can sit upright. There's a good 6 inches above my head of free space there, so yeah, you can make some kind of gear sling. There's the bottom, and there's the bathtub floor. This is not a thick floor. This feels very, very thin. It's definitely the thinnest floor on any tent I own. It's rated 300 mil. So if you were pitching up on something spiky, you might wanna you might want to put some protective onto that. Okay, let's go through my list then of pros and cons after having now spent the night. We'll start with pros. Okay, pro 1, it's light, it's 920 grams. Yes, you have to carry the poles, but you would use this tent on an occasion when you're going to be carrying poles anyway, and that's what I've got it for. 2, value for money, it's £129. There's very few tents that I can think of that are that same money and sort of this kind of features. It's sturdy, as you've seen. It was a little bit windy last night. Forecast said maybe about 20 miles an hour. Didn't feel as bad as that, but I have seen this tent test it. They posted on their Instagram tests showing this performing up to 70 kilometers an hour plus. They even tested 100 kilometers an hour. It stayed up. You wouldn't have a pleasant night if it was really windy in here, but it's pretty sturdy. Good headspace, as I mentioned. Good big porch. Fine for cooking in. I was able to sit there this morning, boil water, make my warm drink. One other big pro for me is that this tent has a 5-year warranty. 5 years, which is brilliant. I love quality after sales, and Decathlon always have that. So yeah, anything goes wrong, then 5 years, they'll sort it out. Last plus for me is fast pitch. I could have this pitched in probably 3 minutes once I got a little bit of practice. Okay, cons then. So it is narrow in here. There's not a lot of space, which is fine if that's what you're expecting. If you're expecting this to be more of a wider tent, then there is a 2-person option you might want to look at. For me, this is an upgrade over my Ridge Raider bivvy, so anything is bigger than that. But one thing you have to take into consideration is because it's narrow, if it's really windy, or if it's windy, the sides will kind of flap against you, and they did that last night. Now, I made the mistake of, because I accidentally pitched it higher on that side, I ended up with my head at the foot end, which is narrower. So I think my head was maybe getting hit a little bit more. But yeah, if it's really windy, because you're going to be close to the sides, you are going to be sort of getting hit in the face a bit more by the sides of the tent, and that's going to make it difficult to sleep. The bathtub floor is quite low, and there's not really much keeping it up. Okay, push down on that. That goes like flat. And then I was on a slight slope here last night, so I kept sliding this way. And as I slid, I was squashing the floor down like that. So potentially you could have a scenario where you're on a bit of a slope and it's raining badly, or the ground's really wet, and you, I don't know, you accidentally push the sides down and water comes in a little bit over the top. Although if I saw a forecast that bad, I probably wouldn't bring this tent. I'd probably bring something a bit more designed for really bad weather. And the last downside that we need to talk about is, of course, the fact that it's white. Now, I'm actually in two minds about this, because as you've seen, I've managed to get some really nice shots of this tent. Because it's white, it acts like a big diffuser for any lights that are put inside it, so it actually looks really cool in the dark. But because it's white, it's not going to be good for stealth camping. That's maybe not as much of an issue across Europe. Decathlon is a European company, so, you know, they have a big market. Yeah, so this wouldn't be my first choice if I was trying to be stealthy. And then the other disadvantage of it being white is it gets dirty really easy. What do you see this? I spilt a little bit of coffee. I spilt a little bit of coffee in the ground here, and already there's a stain. And if I just lift up this mat, you see the ground is all covered in dirt. So officially the reasons for going with white is that it's non-dyed. It produces 18% less CO2 emissions, and this tent is helping save the environment. And while I think we absolutely should be taking care of the amazing world that we've been given, I kind of question how much this actually does. Think of all the dye that goes into all the outdoor clothes that you wear. You don't see people voluntarily wearing undyed clothes up into the hills. No. So yeah, I don't have a problem as such with the reasons behind why they've left this white, but I do question if it really has that much benefit. And I definitely know that a lot of people would have appreciated this in a different color. Okay, I've got a business call in 3 hours that I got to get back for, so I'm going to get this tent packed up and head out. To pack it up, it's pretty simple. You remove the poles from both sides, it kind of collapses, remove the pegs, and roll it all up. Rather than put the tent back in the sleeve, because it's a bit damp, I've decided I'm just going to put it in the top here, and then I can dry it out when I got home. But I'm actually quite surprised there. Having rolled this up, this is really damp, kind of muddy ground, and You can see the base there, where the white has got dirty. If I wipe that, like, it's instantly clean. So I wonder if maybe the white, while it will get dirty easily, will clean easily, but I guess time will tell. Yeah, I just stuff that in the top of the bag. Hopefully you found this video useful. You can let me know in the comments what you think of this tent. Thanks for watching. If you did find it useful, consider subscribing or have a look around the channel. I've got a lot of other outdoors videos on here. But yeah, I'm gonna go pack up. I'll catch you in the next one.